Check, check, check. Mic 1, 2. Here we are, back at it again. So, what if the reason nobody showed you the way is because you were always supposed to be the one who figured it out first? Especially if you are a Gen Xer. I've lately had a soft spot for my older siblings because they were born during a time where, in my observation, were the last to receive the guarantee and messaging of a society that was slowly deteriorating underneath the house. I think about like the termites in a house. And yet, I also feel the most gravitated towards Gen Xers right now because they lived during the time when the internet age was coming about and they were old enough to recognize to some extent what was going on. Not only that, they were also the last ones to know what life was like outside, to play outside, to come home when the streetlights came on, to like they really, I feel like we're the last ones to really, yeah, just get the last of the goodness of um of a lot of things, but they were also the first to see, yeah, this age evolving. And they were young and they were excited. Like I imagine, when they would skip school to stay home and watch a Michael Jackson music video is stories that I've heard. Or that, when the first phone came out, or when the malls were on and popping, especially in Arizona, especially in the summer. Yeah. And so I say this as a millennial, born in 1990. I got a lot of that, but right smack dab at 10 to 12 years old, I think the internet had already developed to a point where, and just technology had developed to a point where we're like, all right, we're getting the hang of this. I say this given that my first phone was the Sidekick 1. And that was a pretty cool phone, still bulky, but like pretty cool. And yeah, the Game Boy was already my Game Boy Color. So it's like we were already in it, And so I guess I'm at this point where I really feel for my Gen Xers right now because again, they kind of got the last of this promise of a world of what was. And now they're into their 40s and 50s at their halfway point, and they're like, everything that I learned is not what they said it was going to be. But yet I still have um, this respect for them in a sense of them being present to fully witness what was going on in the change of the world. And look at here, I'm doing all kinds of things right now. Yeah. And so this message is really for them. If you're a Gen Xer, if you're an older millennial, if you're a late boomer, wherever you're at in the midst of all that, I'm hoping that this message finds you to not be discouraged in a sense of society shifting and changing so quickly as it is, and everything that you were doing before and now at your midlife where you're like, I got to do things differently. And I'm saying this as your younger sibling, where again, what if the reason nobody showed you the way is because you were always supposed to be the one who figured it out first? And I'm saying this because I personally believe that you all are actually leading, has the opportunity to lead this crusade, for lack of a better word. I could probably look for a better word, but I'm not going to. But I believe that you're leading the crusade to remind us of a life prior to the extensiveness of the information age. Like, I wish I can sit here and say, like, as a millennial, I can remind younger people than me to, like, this is what it was like to grow up outside. This is what it was like to be in conflict. This is what it was like to resolute conflict. This is what it was like to play well with others, even though you disagree with them. This is what it's like to listen to music with actual instruments. I just bought a boombox with CDs and cassette tapes, so don't come for me. But this is what it was like when you actually had to wait for things. This was what it was like to get your hands dirty. This is what it was like to figure it out without GPS. This is what it was like when you had to fail over and over and over again. This is what it was like to not get a participation trophy for everything that you did. This is what it was like to have skin knees. This is what it was like to have a broken heart and not have the option of swiping left. This is what it was like to write without AI, to think. This is what it was like to go to the library and do research. This is what it was like to navigate the bus system and carry cash instead of just getting in an Uber and having your mom or your parent Venmo you. This is what it was like to navigate life without a portable phone. And those are just all off the top of my head. I wish I can just say that I listed that out. No, that's off at the top of my head because I participated in it to some extent. But very quickly after, by the time I was a teenager, I already had a car. I had a pretty fast phone, GPS. Like, I didn't have to go to a payphone. Um, all the things I just mentioned, I was already, in middle school, in high school, and that wasn't my reality. And so that's why when I say it comes to Gen Xers, I truly believe that y'all have a sense or the opportunity of the responsibility of leading us back to a life worth living. Oof, I know that's quite the responsibility, but you all have it like deep in your body memory of all of those moments and all those experiences. And I feel like now more than ever, we need to be reminded of them. And yeah, I'm just wanting to reposition this because and just give a different perspective and someone from who's just a generation younger than you. That I think I'll say this. When it comes to any intergenerational conversation, which unfortunately is not taking place as much as they used to. Ugh, it's quite a pain point for me. Um, but I've noticed online and in person that the information device internet conversation is a huge line in the sand. It's a line in the sand between generations because it's the one thing that we all participate in. Well, most of us participate in if we have the privilege to do so. And our relationship with it in terms of how we had to learn how to use the tool itself. And so for a lot of times when I'm in conversations, intergenerational conversations, and I'm with folks that are baby boomers, and Gen X, oftentimes they will low key be like age discriminatory and be like, y'all don't even know what an 8-track is, and y'all don't even remember voicemail, and y'all don't even remember what a payphone is, and do you even know what a stereo is? First and foremost, chill. Nobody had any choice about when and where they were born and what they had access to and what they were going to be engaging in terms of tools and technologies. Okay. So I just want to call that out because I do sense a bit of discrimination, like age discrimination against people's understanding of old school media technology. But second, is what I'm trying to say is that I feel like, in my observation, that Gen X and older almost have this chip on their shoulder that because we didn't know about those particular media technologies and the ease of them today, there's almost this chip on their shoulder as to how easy we have it. And I will say, as a millennial who's stuck in between, man, we just smack dab in the middle. So siblings that are right here as the middle child, I feel you, I feel you, I feel you. But I'm wanting to just shift the perspective as to like, it doesn't have to be a woe is me. And I say this, for any generation. Oftentimes we're so quick on this woe is me thing that we're not really recognizing the privileges, opportunities, and advantages of being born in each generation, let alone just being born itself and how miraculous that is altogether. And so, anyways, I'm wanting to just, yeah, share a different perspective for those who are older than millennials and, and to really take on the responsibility and not just pass the buck and really just be like, yo, like we see that these kids are struggling, point blank, period, whether we like to admit it or not. And we got to do something about it. We got to remind them of what life was outside. We got to remind them of what being in relationship with others, even when it was hard, is like. We got to remind them to still respect each other, even if there's differences. Um, we got to remind them to be present in someone's life and showing up for them. And I took a pause real quick because I'm asking for this, I'm calling for this, I'm positioning this because I see otherwise. I see otherwise that this isn't the case. I mean, this is just from my very small scope and observation in my corner of the universe, particularly in the West. But it's so disheartening to see how we've all folded to our devices unknowingly. And I'm grateful. I think that younger people are having a bigger conversation around not being on socials and such, which I think is amazing. I'm grateful that we're all going analog. I'm not saying we're all going analog, but people are having more conversations around analog. But to be honest, it's like, when you're going downhill on your bike, you got the wind on your back, and I don't know, you're probably going 25, 35, 50 miles an hour, and you're trying to press the brakes, like how much momentum you have and how difficult it is to press the brakes. I feel like that's where we're at when it comes to the internet and our devices. Like, we're going downhill, we're at 50 miles per hour, and the wind is at our back, and we're trying to brake. And I'm not sure about you, but the times that I have taught people how to ride a bike, oftentimes you tell them to come towards you so that you can meet them where they're at and like grab their handlebars, get them steady and to keep them balanced. I feel like that's where Gen X can be at. And I know that this is a big ask. And so I guess I would like to be clear. that this is for Gen Xers who are willing to take up that responsibility, who are willing to shift their perspective about their positionality in society, who are willing to just do differently and to have an honest conversation, to be like, yeah, this device has, whew, I have fallen susceptible to its lure. And, but I remember life before it. And how can I pass on to my younger siblings, to my nieces, my nephews, my children? How can I slow this down? How can I be right there in front of them, ready to catch them before they fall? How can I be the wind in their face, trying to slow down the momentum? And, I believe that that takes a certain kind of person, that takes a certain level of leadership. And I feel like it's important that it's the people who have a level of like mentorship and guiding and teaching and educating and coaching, and who just really want to be in relationship and in connection with others, which is really challenging nowadays. But I don't think it's impossible. And I don't want to sit here kind of airy fairy and think that like all hope is lost, and saying like we're too far gone now, and the past is the past. I think what I'm saying is that they were the first and the last to remember life before the internet in this way. And I'm asking for those practices to be brought to the forefront and to be remembered by people who lived those experiences. Because we're in the information age, I believe what's more powerful is being able to teach and lead from lived experience. And like I said, those who've been leading from Gen X have the lived experience, have the awareness, and have still life energy and life force in them to make a change. To make a change. And I don't want to believe that this number is far and few between. I want to believe that because they are also kind of like older middle children amongst all this, that they feel it too. And I say, as your younger sibling, that I'm right there with you with my Game Boy Color and my sidekick, And so, yeah, if this resonates with you, if you feel like you're ready to take responsibility, if you feel like you're wanting to make a change and you're wanting to contribute, if you feel like you're wanting to lead, whether it be in person or online, then I'd say that this is a place worth hanging out in. I want you to know I am here to support you, to be your sidekick in any way possible. Ideally, in my gifts and talents and abilities. And where that starts off is, personally for me, is really supporting with our digital habits and really getting a hold on them and having a different relationship with our devices by leading by example. It's really easy to tell a kid to lower their screen time when we're also on it just as often. And so, yeah, I know that this is all top of mind for many of us. If you're paying attention at all to the world, paying attention to the world around you at least. And if you're wondering where to get started, then I would say a great place to get started is by outwitting your device. And this is for anyone. This is for anyone for any age who has a smartphone, specifically an iPhone. Like if you're ready to lead by example, if you're ready to have a better relationship with your device, if you're ready to just do something instead of being susceptible to the ways that we are being controlled to some extent, then I would highly suggest checking out my mini workshop called Outwitting Your Device. It's 45 minutes, and I'm literally walking with you on how to set up your device. It's pretty, I would say, it's common knowledge. It's common knowledge for me, but I'm learning that my brain works a little bit differently. But it's straightforward in the sense that I walk through it with you. So I have a lot of screen shares so you know exactly what button to press. And I also have a PDF checklist that you can follow along with me. But this was meant to be so easy that your grandma can do it. And so if you're feeling that itch to be like, man, yeah, you're right. I really want to get back to life. I really want to get back outside. I really want to get back in nature. I really want to get back to my people. But it's difficult when my people are also on their devices. So how can I lead by example by having a different relationship with my phone? And then how can I give this 45-minute training to them too so they can follow along, and now we're all slowly detangling ourselves from our addiction to these devices. And I believe it starts there. I believe it starts there because it's this thing is so pervasive. This tool is so pervasive in our lives. And so if that's something that you're interested in, go ahead and check out the links below for my stand store. For again, it's called Outwitting Your Device, because it can be quite smart. They have made it quite smart. Steve Jobs has made it quite smart along with the rest of his team. And so, and Bill Gates and all those people. So how do we outwit them? Or at least the things that they created. So anyways, I hope that this gives you a different perspective that, you know, if you're feeling some types of way about yourself in your path and like being in your midlife right now, and you're like, man, like everything I learned is not even, it's not even working anymore because the world's changing so fast. My question for you is, what if it's because you were always supposed to be the one to figure it out first so that we can follow you as you lead the way? Worth thinking about. Nonetheless, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for your time and attention. And let's get back to living. And I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye now.